Willkommen bei Infidelity Nest. In diesem Video abonniert, klickt auf den Like-Button und drückt auf Notifikationen, damit ihr nie wieder eine unvergessliche Geschichte verpasst. Ich sollte nicht dort sein, nicht in diesem Apartment, nicht auf dem Couch und definitiv nicht in dem Moment, der alles geändert hat. Aber das Leben hat einen seltsamen, fast krügelnden Weg, den Weg zu den Orten zu wechseln, an denen ihr euch versprochen habt, dass ihr nie wieder gehen würdet. Es zerstört die Karte, die ihr für euch geschrieben habt, und handelt euch um Chaos anstatt. Und manchmal, in diesem Chaos, findet ihr die Wahrheit, die ihr nie bereit warst, zu begegnen. Ich dachte früher, mein Leben sei einfach, organisiert und sicher. Wie ein gut geschriebenes Buch ohne Überraschungen. Ich dachte, Liebe sollte unschlagbar sein. Etwas, das einst versprochen wurde, fadet nie. Ich glaubte, wenn du dein ganzes Herz gegeben hättest, würde das Universum es schützen. Aber Liebe endet nicht immer in Flammen oder Wut. Manchmal verschwindet es einfach. Es fließt leise weg, hinter nichts, als Ruhe. Eine Ruhe, so tief, dass sie in deinem Körper klingelt, so schwer, dass dein Lächeln zerstört, so unendlich, dass es Teil deines Atems wird. Als er fuhr, hatte er nicht einmal die Mut, mich zu treffen. Keine letzten Worte, keine Tränen, keine Schließung. 5 Jahre. 5 Jahre von gemeinsamen Morgens, kleinen Witzen, geflüchteten Plänen. Alles reduziert zu einem Brief, gepackt in den Kühlschrank. Eine halbwürdige Entschuldigung schrubberte ein Inkel, das bereits gefadet sah. Nebenbei eine Einzelhaushalte. Ich schaute an diese Halte, für was fühlte sich an wie Stunden an. Es war nur ein kaltes Stück Metall, aber unter diesem Küchenlicht schien es mit Kräfte zu schütteln. Je länger ich schaute, desto tiefer wurde der Schmerz in mich geschnitten. Wie jede Erinnerung, jede Versprache, jede »Ich liebe dich« wurde in dieser silbernen Form gemelkt. Ich drückte es in meine Hand, bis ich nicht wusste, ob der Schmerz von seiner Grenze oder von der Wahrheit endlich sinkt. Alles, was ich gebaut hatte, war weg. Die Stille, die folgte. Es war nicht friedlich. Es war schreiende Stille, die Art, die jeden Raum mit Geistern füllt, die Art, die jeden Herzschlag in eine Erinnerung von dem, was du verloren hast. Das war, als ich Carrie genannt habe, meine beste Freundin, seit wir Kinder waren. Sie wusste immer, wenn etwas falsch war. Selbst von der Art, wie ich Hallo sagte. Ich bekam nicht einmal 2 Worte raus, bevor sie mich unterbrach. »Pack a bag«, sagte sie leise. »Du bleibst mit mir heute Nacht.« Sie fragte nicht, warum. Sie brauchte es nicht. Das war, wie Carrie war. Jemand, der keine Details brauchte, um sich für dich zu zeigen. Ich sagte ja, bevor sie fertig war. Denn in dem Moment, als ich aus dem Apartment flieh, fühlte es sich an, als würde ich wieder atmen. Carries Apartment war in einem dieser alten Downtown-Gebäude. Hohe Brickwände, hohe Ziele, breite Fenster, die den Sonnenschein wie eine Malerei fielen. Es hatte diesen ruhigen Weza-Amen. Wie die Wezas? Elder selbst haben hunderte Stories vor uns gesehen. Selbst in Stille F für eins kalte sich das Gepeil Ude lebendig. Als ich ankam, schüttelte Carrie mich fest. Der Artschüttel, der sagte, »Du musst nichts erklären, gerade jetzt. Du wirst den Apartment für eine Weile für dich haben«, sagte sie. »Nathan's away for work, Nathan, her older brother. I remembered him from our school days, quiet, reserved, the one who always carried a guitar and a faraway look. He was the kind of person who seemed to exist halfway between music and silence. I hadn't seen him in years, but hearing he wouldn't be around was a relief. The last thing I wanted was company. I wanted stillness, space to fall apart quietly. For 2 days I moved like a ghost through Carrie's home. I didn't eat much. I barely slept. I drank coffee that tasted like nothing and stared out of windows, counting the hours by how the sunlight shifted across the floor. I was breathing, but not really alive. Then, on the 3rd evening, everything changed. The sound of the front door opening sliced through the quiet. Footsteps. Slow. Unhurried. I froze. Then I saw him. Nathan. But he wasn't the same quiet boy I remembered from school. Time had reshaped him, softened him in some ways, deepened him in others. His hair was slightly messy, his shirt wrinkled, his posture relaxed but steady, the kind of steady that made the room feel anchored. His silence wasn't emptiness anymore, it was depth. Our eyes met. For a moment it felt like the air thickened between us. He gave a polite nod, just enough acknowledgement to make me remember I wasn't invisible. "Hey," he said. Just one word, calm and unbothered, but warm. "Hi," I managed to whisper back. That was it. 2 small words hanging in the air, awkward but real. For days after that, we barely spoke. Our communication was limited to quiet nods, polite smiles, small exchanges like morning or thanks. We moved around each other carefully, 2 strangers sharing a space, pretending not to notice how aware we actually were of each other. And maybe that's what I needed, not connection, just presence, someone else's quiet to match mine. But silence has a way of changing shape. It doesn't stay empty for long. One evening, I couldn't stand being indoors anymore. The walls felt like they were pressing in, so I went for a walk. The city outside hummed softly under flickering streetlights. The autumn air was sharp, biting against my skin. Fallen leaves chased each other across the sidewalk, whispering secrets only the lonely could hear. For the first time, I realized how big the world still was, and how small I had made it inside my grief. When I came back, the apartment was dimly lit. The air smelled faintly of rosemary and red wine. Nathan was on the couch, one leg propped over the other, a glass in hand watching the TV. The movie playing was Notting Hill. I blinked, surprised. "You like this movie?" I teased lightly. He glanced up, the faintest grin tugging at his lips. "Only when I'm depressed," he replied. It was the first joke I'd heard in weeks, and unexpectedly, I laughed. Not a polite laugh, a real one, the kind that shakes something loose inside you. There were already 2 glasses of wine poured on the table. He didn't invite me to join him, but he didn't have to. I sat at the far end of the couch, careful not to intrude, and yet not quite distant either. The movie filled the silence between us, soft dialogue, familiar lines, the kind of comfort that sneaks up on you without asking permission. When Julia Roberts said, "I'm just a girl," standing in front of a boy, asking him to love her, I felt Nathan's gaze shift. Just for a second, just enough to make me aware of him. Really aware. That moment. It was small. But sometimes small moments carry more weight than entire years. That night became the quiet beginning of something neither of us expected. Days slipped into weeks. The apartment fell into rhythm. Mornings smelled like coffee and sunlight. The sound of his footsteps became part of my mornings, steady, grounding. We shared small things, notes about groceries, shared jokes, a mutual understanding that didn't need words. It wasn't love, not yet. It was something softer. The comfort of knowing someone sees you without asking for more than you can give. Then one night, I couldn't sleep. The clock blinked 2:47 a.m. I wandered into the living room, barefoot, wearing one of Carrie's oversized shirts. The apartment was quiet, bathed in the blue light of Nathan's phone screen. He was sitting there, deep in thought. "Can't sleep?" he asked without looking up. I shook my head. "You?" He smiled faintly, putting the phone aside. "Same." He patted the couch beside him. A silent invitation. I hesitated. Then I sat. For a while, we said nothing, the kind of silence that listens instead of weighing you down. Outside, the city murmured softly, cars distant and steady. Then, out of nowhere, he asked, "Do you miss him?" I didn't expect it. I froze. My eyes traced the pattern of the rug at our feet. "I don't know," I said quietly. "Sometimes I wonder if I ever really had him." Nathan turned to me. His gaze was steady, not pitying, not prying, just calm. "Maybe it's a good thing he's gone," he said gently. No judgment, no softness, just truth. And somehow that truth hit harder than any comfort could. I looked at him for a long time, maybe searching for judgment, maybe for understanding, but what I found in his eyes was something else, the quiet certainty of someone who's seen people break and still rebuild. After a long pause, I said something I hadn't even admitted to myself. "I think I'm more afraid of being wanted than being alone." Nathan inhaled sharply, like he hadn't expected that answer. Then, in a whisper that seemed to hang between us, he said, "Rachel, you've always been wanted. You just never noticed." The words landed like a quiet explosion. I felt something shift deep inside me, like a door I didn't know existed had just opened. We didn't move, didn't speak. But suddenly, everything felt smaller. The room, the world, until all that existed was the warmth between us. His hand rested near mine, not touching, just close enough that I could feel his presence. That night didn't change because of what happened, but because of what it meant. It reminded me that grief doesn't erase who you are. It only hides you for a while. And sometimes, it takes someone seeing through your silence to remind you who you were before the heartbreak. Nathan never tried to fix me. He never made promises or grand gestures. He just stayed, present, honest, real. And that was enough to begin again. The days that followed were quieter, but heavier with meaning. Every glance lasted a heartbeat too long. Every smile carried an echo. Every accidental touch left a memory. We never talked about that night. We didn't have to. Some things are too fragile for words. One morning, sunlight poured golden through the windows. I was making coffee when I noticed him watching me. "You look more like yourself today," he said softly. I smiled, and for the first time in months, I felt that it was true. Grief wasn't my identity anymore. It was just a shadow now, something that followed, but no longer defined me, and nah,